Caribou Weather Dude YouTube. It's Joey only here with the Bad News Show. Snowfall continues. It's Saturday night. It's 20 to 8. Watching the Canucks game out of the one corner of my eye. Great game by the Leafs tonight. Totally loved the comeback. I'm not an Oilers fan, as many of you know. It was really great to see them get smoked in overtime by Mitch Martin. No one thought he was going to shoot. Anyways, snowfall continues tonight in BC. It's a mess out there. Hope no one's traveling. It's really bad. It will resolve itself sometime Sunday. Problem is we got a lot of cold air coming in, and we got this bomb cyclone that's probably going to form in the Pacific there in the next couple days. The phone's just dinging off the hook about it. Everyone's talking about the bomb cyclone. It's going to be so big. Some models say it gets into the 930s. I'm not going to suggest that, but the cold air is going to be there to play with, and there's going to be a subtropical flow, probably going to be an atmospheric river into the Pacific Northwest. I'm thinking Northern California, South Oregon seems to be the target that all the models are agreeing on. So we'll have a look at all that and the cold coming, the bitter bad news show. Cold, let's go. There it is. This is bad news. My God.
Falling out right now.
Anything could happen.
Get on!
Wow. I'll watch the video later.
They
dry mop in this. Here on satellite tonight is this bunch of horseradish getting thrown into the province. As you can see, it's mostly affecting into the eastern side of the province now, especially if you're in the Kootenays, if you're into the Rockies, if you're in the Caribous, the Monashees, all places up to the Pine Pass, maybe even seeing some of that spilling over maybe into the Alberta side, even some of that a little bit too. So pretty messy looking down there in BC tonight. Looks stupid up on the Revelstoke Pass. Canyon Creek, you can't even see out the camera. Snow on the ground in Invermere now. Cranbrook, not yet. Snow falling in Nelson. Looks more like a sloppy but wet snow mix in a cusp. You get the point, man. You get the point. In fact, I'm sure if we go look at the Paulson Pass, completely gross. So I hope you're not traveling out in that stuff right now. So we won't spend too much time talking about the warnings now that it's Saturday night, and a lot of these are probably going to resolve themselves tonight. So this continues this evening. An additional 5 to 10 centimeters of snow is going on through here in Wells, likely Hendricks Lake, higher terrain around Prince George. Some good bands of snow came through Quesnel earlier today. Looks like they got a pretty good taste of that. Same with the 20-30 centimeters. That might continue a little longer for Kinbasket. Snowfall warning now. Should say winter storm warning. Just announced right now at 7:37. That's for Coquihalla Highway. This will continue into Sunday afternoon. So southern BC, this is moving south. Basically, it's going to be how the pulse works, right? So it'll resolve itself into the north first, moving towards the south this evening into Sunday afternoon. 15 to 25 centimeters expected there. Strong frontal systems pushed into the region. Heavy snow on the highway. Snowfall accumulations are expected to be heaviest overnight, but significant accumulations are continuing on Sunday morning. Gusty winds there, maybe some blowing snow as well. Could taper off still, maybe not by Sunday evening. Not quite have resolved itself. So we do have also special weather statements. We could see snowfall warnings yet for Revelstoke and for the pass over there for Rogers Pass and for the Coquihalla, for the connector down to the 97C. And high tide still going on there on the coast. Plus, special weather statement continues for strong winds and heavy rain in Metro Vancouver, and snowfall continues 10 to 15 centimeters likely. So first significant snowfall continuing this evening in the Whistler area. While meanwhile over in Manitoba, snowfall continues there for Justin, 10 to 15 centimeters continuing in western Manitoba, and that will continue to Sunday morning. So let's start to dial in on this complicated looking image here where we have this trough going into the States right now. So expect some of this cold air to start leaking its way downwards. And this flow has been hammering into BC. So here it is. This is our weekend snow event going on in BC. Strong storms. We get some strong storms that take off down there in the States. So that's something they're going to be watching for. If you follow American forecasters, if you live down in those regions, I'm really forecasting for this Pacific Northwest and most especially BC and most especially the BC interior where I live, right? But here we go. So we catch that break. There's cold air coming into BC right there. And then we have this new cyclone, bomb cyclone that starts to dig in there. And it's going to hang around for a while. And we're not really sure what it's going to do. You know, we have a good idea what the next few days will look like. But I think once it sort of reaches its maximum, we don't know from sort of there what it will quite exactly do. Probably going to hang around, spin around. It seems like there's going to be a successive bunch of lows that Fuji wore around and they spin around there. So it might take a little while for it to resolve itself. And what we've been hoping for in BC, a few days ago when I first was talking about this, was that it would be more of a straight in and give us this nice blast of, subtropical warmth to beat back this cold air that's going to be coming at us. But I don't see necessarily that that's the case. At least we're not sure of that yet. It looks like we're going to stay kind of on the cold side of things here in BC for a little while to come. For the coast on Sunday, we expect to see the strong southwest winds and heavy precipitation end when the cold front moves through. In the wake of this departing cold front, there will be unsettled conditions. So there's a risk that there could be thunderstorms on that sort of dry sector down at the very end of this cold front. So we'll watch that pass through on Sunday, sort of resolve itself in the north, cold air taking over. And then we're going to watch how this next it starts right there as this low, 1014 it says, which isn't that low, but then watch how fast it gets propelled in. We know how our conveyor belts of those highs are feeding it straight in. Going to hang around down off the southwest flank of Vancouver Island, off the Oregon coast, and get deeper and deeper quick. Going to be a bomb cyclone, going to drop fast in its central low pressure. Now, this says 948. I think this is about the point where we can be sure of what's going to happen. So I think between, now and Tuesday night, I don't think that our expectation here will change that much. It'll probably get to 950s, 940s, something like that. It's possible it could get lower. I doubt very much that it will get weaker, because we have this really high. See that 1036 high there in the middle. Right here. This 1036 high, this 1050 high, this is very cold air that's going to be streaming in. So this is the air that's going to be starting us with a very frigid week here in British Columbia. And that's going to help feed this guy. We got the subtropical moisture. This is an atmospheric river, and it's going to be slamming straight into this sort of North California, South Oregon. But that precipitate will still hammer into Washington as well. We'll still see the effects of it in BC at times, although we'll see how much this cold air battles to keep it out. Right, and storm sort of continuing there on Wednesday. So another storm next week. This, what's going on now moves into the prairies, and now we're looking at that being a snowfall event across the prairies, moving into Manitoba by this time next week. So here's what we're kind of watching. What does that, bomb do? Sit around, maybe weaken for a while, become a couple different storms, sorta. Watch. There you go, another one. Okay, so this one has kind of a 1, 2, 3 punch. So there's some different ideas about what that looks like. But I think, we can be pretty sure that a bomb cyclone is going to form itself on more or less Tuesday off the northwest Pacific coast. And we can be pretty sure that an atmospheric river will accompany it and will most likely be targeting that area of California. We may see 300 millimeters of rain or more. I don't know what that is in inches, my American friends. A meter of snow in some of the big mountains. And it's this Arctic outbreak that's going to fuel the bugger, right? It's streaming on down the Rocky Mountains, this cold air, like we've seen it do so many times over the years. And you can see even here on the graphic where the cyclone is forming. You can see where the cold air is being drawn in. You can see where the warm air is being drawn up. You can see the contact on this area where it's sort of butting up against, and it's going to fight, not going to get let in. We'll see how much moisture it can be. You can really see the stream of it there, again, pointing right at that Oregon coast, at that North California up, and definitely going to have effects felt very strongly in Vancouver Island. While meanwhile, this cold air breaks out down the Rockies, probably visits into Alberta, probably gets some real cold air at some point. Try to make, the question is, will it try to break its way eastward? And often it does, right? So maybe for you in the east to get a break for a little while for this next week, but some of this air may be coming at you still in the week ahead. But yeah, this is concerning. It doesn't seem like it wants to let up. It seems like we have a prolonged period of cold in BC. Some of these places in the Rocky Mountains in the United States, 11 Fahrenheit, 1 Fahrenheit, 9, 14. So in -2 Fahrenheit. So that's cold. That's really, really stinking cold, right? All of us who live on the wood stove, I'm not really looking forward to this. It's going to suck. It's going to be super cold. I won't want to make forecasts because I want to be hanging upstairs so that the heat of the wood stove is doing its best. I've had so many minus 30 snaps here in the past, even hit minus 40 a couple times over the years. I've been here since 2009. I've owned this place. And you can see that storm showing up here, even on the cold graphic. It shows up in the temperature differential. Yeah, people being all like, you should just talk about the weather, man. You should have just stayed talking about the weather. You're like, well, since when did I only ever talk about the weather? I've always been exactly who I am. Like, if you looked at the discography of the music my band put out, overnight into Sunday, really snowing on us still here. It's going to stop snowing in Wells, I don't know, May, I said, possibly. Seems like it. Nice for these guys up on the Washington coast, getting some precip there in the form of rain, but anywhere up in the mountains, we're really facing that cold air like we just saw. We can just go back and forth and get a picture of where it is. There it is up in the Yukon. It's cold. It wants to come. Well, where's our rain and thunder? Still working its way out. Kinda. We've just had this strong flow from this low up here in the Gulf of Alaska. Just really strong flow from that northwest coming at us. And that's what's really been delivering this precipitation. Like, I don't really consider what we've been seeing here its own storm necessarily, the way that we've had others kind of jet in. It's really just this flank here is just sort of throwing moisture into the coast, and it's turning up as snow as it's reaching into the colder, into the interior of the continent. So Sunday night, still going to see some snow going on in places, but I think for a lot of you in the interior, no, you're not going to. Maybe that southeast corner coming into Monday morning down there in the Kootenays, maybe up in Vermeer and whatnot, you might be seeing some snowfall still, and there you go. So this low's continuing to just sort of throw junk at us for a number of days, and that's when we're starting to see our next one. And here's that mid-latitude cyclone I was talking about in the States. We looked at one of the earlier models and said, if you live down there in the U.S., you would be watching some of these American forecasters down there. I don't know, Tim Vasquez Forecast Lab, he's great. Just one of many, many examples. And watch what guys like that are saying, because this looks like maybe tornado kind of potential next week too. He's got that really cold air coming down. What's that air looking like now? We'll switch back here to cold air again. Cold air streaming down the Rockies. And if we were just to go a little bit further and look at nighttime, where's that cold sitting at night? It's coming down. It's trying to. All models, it's trying to come down, showing up even in the Rockies down the U.S. side. So here's that low on Tuesday morning, 1 a.m., starting to show up. This other one is just making for crazy stories across the U.S. Snow on the backside of it, and heavy rains in places, severe thunderstorm lines potential going on through parts of the Mississippi and parts of Appalachia. And here's our bomb cyclone getting deeper, goes to 972 now. It's dropping 968, 8 a.m. By 9 a.m., still dropping by 10. It's dropped down to 950s, by 11 a.m. By noon, it's almost in the 940s. Look how strong it is by Tuesday. So if this happens, I think more or less this is pretty potentially legit. 945, that's deep. That's really deep. So even conservative ECMWF model seems to think that there's enough of this there's this cold air here that it's jutting up against. That's going to make it particularly pissed off and won't really allow it to come inland. And you're going to have hurricane force winds. And this isn't wind gusts on this model. This is 101. This is steady. So this is steady, possibly damaging winds coming to the coast. Up and down the coast, slamming in. So you're going to see some very big waves crashing on the beaches. They're going to be very dangerous to be around shore. Going to see dangerous conditions for ships to be out there. Going to be seeing this pummeling in rain. When we look at the rain accumulation, over that next week, could you see 200, 300, things like that, numbers like that? Yeah, completely possible. And narrow in on here and see if we could find dark spots. Yeah, 355, see if that's possible, maybe. But I think, 300 is a good number to shoot for. And if you switch over to snow, where's snow going to be falling? You can see, so up the BC coast, some rain, right? These wind gusts will be the concern, I think, that may impact Vancouver Island especially, and up the Olympic Peninsula. And some substantial new snow totals into California, maybe a meter in places there. Go up to some of the mountains in Oregon, you may be looking at 60 centimeters, a meter in some places. Might see some of the same things along these coastal ranges, and even Vancouver Island might take some pretty significant snow because it's going to be cold enough inland to have snow, especially if you go up a couple hundred feet in elevation. But you look at these isobars, that's strong winds into the interior as well. So expect that. Expect that. If you have work to do on Tuesday or you're in the bush, expect heavy wind conditions for trees coming down, things like that. I mean, this is passing into the afternoon on this picture, but you'll be watching it come inland over the day. You're going to see winds picking up, right? You'll watch where these isobars are thinning out. So you're going to see areas where the winds get pretty gusty, I think, on Tuesday in the BC interior. Expect that. So on top of the colder weather we got coming in, maybe a little bit of snow trying to break in from some of this that gets thrust up inland, most likely affecting the southern areas. But on top of that, we have temperatures as well that'll be quite frigid. Even at 5 in the afternoon, this is thinking, or 7 o'clock, sorry, even 7 o'clock in the evening, this is thinking minus 21 up in the Rockies, up in Fort Nelson, minus 27s, going to be some 30s somewhere out there. Obviously, yeah, 31 in the Yukon, yeah, of course, maybe in Alaska too. Yeah, that's who gets it. You can keep it. But all the way down, minus 15 in Colorado, this is gonna be widespread snowfall stories, widespread thunderstorms, tornado possibilities down that South United States. We're going to see this bomb cyclone, atmospheric river pounding the coast, big damaging winds, hurricane force winds. Going to see big snow totals in many places. It's going to be for some of you, your biggest storm so far this year down south. This Arctic air is going to reach down. It's going to try to force its way as far south as it can go, and we're going to have quite likely a prolonged period of it trying to hang around. I'm not very happy about it, but as we look on the model, does it break down at all? It doesn't seem like it wants to. It seems like it wants to hang in BC especially. If that's the case, that sucks. We want that storm to pound in. This week and knock that temperature up. That'd be nice, but I'm not sure it'll do that. I think we're going to have this contact of cold flow of water into that same sort of area, the California, Oregon coast. It's going to be quite disastrous for you in places, I'm sure. Expect that. Be watching your local authorities, be watching your local forecasters. Be ready for that. Be ready for the cold air in BC, prolonged periods of having your stove extra warm, hoping by next weekend a new storm can come in and knock that temperature back for us. Hopefully it can beat that cold, but so far nothing's really wanted to. That'll be how this bomb cyclone probably resolves itself somehow. But we'll have more on that, I think, in the coming days. I think, like I said, all we can guarantee you for now is probably that by sometime on Tuesday afternoon, this mid-latitude cyclone is going to be entrenched in with a significant looking atmospheric river ready to pound the United States. I think that we can almost guarantee will probably be like that. That's enough for today. Please hit like, share, subscribe, join the Patreon, help me out. I've lost some support and some some subscribers over this last week or two, and I've been struggling to keep the channel going. And so, we got to just keep at it, keep being strong in these times. And I'm not going to allow people to tell me just keep talking about the weather, man. I'll talk about what I want to talk about. I'm the caribou dude. I can talk about what I want to talk about. Turns out I want to talk about weather. It's my thing. I'm good at. And, someday I'll explain my story, I guess, a little bit more. For now, I guess that's the show. And if you could, let your friends know not to be traveling around in this ridiculous snow. I hope everybody already knows that by now. Okay, bye for now, everybody.